Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the MedEdWell Podcast. I'm so excited to be here with you today and to encourage you as physicians, as nurse practitioners, as PAs, as other medical professionals, and others in high stakes, stressful professions to be able to take that next step in your wellness journey. Because as a physician, going through burnout was really hard for me. It was one of the hardest things that I've been through in my life, and particularly professionally. And I really want to be able to give back. And I'm so thankful for each of you showing up for yourself as you seek to grow and to care for yourself so that you can be present for your patients. You can care for your community, and you can be a whole person present for what matters most to you, whether that's family, friends, or just showing up as your authentic self. So I wanted to come to you today to be able to share a little bit of my journey through life and what I've learned from that experience and how that can help each of us think about how we approach, particularly improving our charting. Because I've been talking about how each of us can finish charting faster and get home sooner for what matters most to us. And recently, I had the opportunity with my wife to work on a rite of passage for one of our children. Potty training. Yep, that's right. Potty training. So you might be asking, what does potty training and charting have to do with one another? So I'm going to give you some of my top lessons that, reflecting on a weekend of our second attempt at potty training, how that can impact you as you think about your charting journey. So first lesson that I reflected on was it's so important to keep the end in mind. Just like Stephen Covey in his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People talks about, begin with the end in mind. I realized that it was really important for me to keep the end in mind, to keep the end in mind of, I want to see my child be successful in their potty training journey. I know that they'd get there, that she'd get there. And it was an eventual thing. I believed that this would happen. I didn't know exactly how or when, but I knew that as we worked this process, that it would happen. We had tried previously a number of months ago, and she wasn't ready. And after a couple days, we realized that and said, that's okay. And yet we decided, hey, this is the time to go for it again, because we know where we wanted to go. Likewise, with charting, each of us knows that we want to get home. We want to get home with our work done. We want to have it all taken care of so that we get paid, so that those obligations are taken care of, so that if that patient shows up in the emergency department or goes to see a specialist, you make a referral and you want to communicate what you saw at that time so that when they see them a few hours later, a few weeks later, a few months or years later, that what you had documented was accurate. And so the end in mind is your charting all done. And for me, my goal is to have it done same day, or at least as soon as possible. And so starting from that place of knowing where you want to go with your charting, how you want to show up as a physician, as another medical professional to get your work done, to be able to do it in a way that is authentic to you so that you can take good care of patients, but still make those efficiency gains that you want to. Because for many of us, the status quo, the current situation just isn't working. I know because I've been there. 8 months out of residency, I was exhausted. I was bringing charts home. I was doing my notes in the evenings and on weekends, getting up early, feeling like I could not get it all done and have time to recharge and be ready for the next week. And so the end in mind for me is being able to get my charting done, to be able to get home, to spend time with my family, and to be present. It's so critical that you keep the end in mind as you start on this journey, of self-improvement, self-reflection, and growth. So first is keep the end in mind. The second thing that I learned reflecting on this weekend of toilet training was that mindset matters. Because as I thought about it, I realized that if I said, oh, this is going to be hard, it didn't work last time, I don't know if this is going to work, well, that ends up creating feelings in me of pressure, of, oh, this has to work now. I don't know that this is going to work, and I feel a little bit anxious. And that doesn't allow me to show up in the way that I want to for my daughter, for my wife, and as we try to work through the situation, as opposed to saying, hey, we're going to explore this together. We can do this. I know that I can show up and be calm and be caring for my daughter as she goes through big feelings. Each of us have big feelings, and as we reflect on how things were when we were a child and how we've grown, and sometimes some of those things come up, and it's just in a little bit more subtle way. So as we approach mindset around charting, it's really important to see, how am I responding to the situation? How am I coming into this situation with thoughts of, I can't do this, I don't know how, and it's easier to live in that overwhelm rather than to say, I can do this. I can try that. I can take this next step. And it doesn't mean that I know exactly how I'm going to get to that end that I'm holding in mind, but it means that I know that I'm committed. I'm committed to showing up as the type of person who figures this out, who gets this done. And as I take that next step towards that end goal, that I can do it, that I am committed to figuring out the next step. And then I know that as I do that, I'll be able to figure out the next step after that, ultimately moving me on the trajectory, that growth trajectory that allows me to move forward. And so as you go into new things, as I went into potty training, I realized that mindset really matters, because the thoughts and stories that I tell myself, those things can either be empowering or they can be kind of restrictive, holding me back as I look at what those thoughts are ultimately creating for me in terms of the feelings those thoughts generate and what I do with that. So first lesson from this recent experience was to keep the end in mind. Secondly, the importance of mindset, that mindset matters. But then it's important to make a plan while being ready to pivot. So there are a number of books out there, articles, tons of opinions about what's the best way to potty train. First time around, we read one book and they said, you will do it this way. And if you do not have this all taken care of by the time your child hits 30 months, it's not going to happen. And it's going to be way harder. So we were about at that 30-month mark when we first tried, and it just wasn't happening. And after a couple of days of trying, we realized that the best thing for our family was to pause, to come back again later. And it was so much better the second time around. So we had to be ready to pivot. Not only that, but as things go, and the first day, you have to do one thing. If there's accidents, you have to say, hey, how am I going to show up, or what am I going to change? And it works, but it takes that flexibility. Likewise, when you think about your charting, it's important to have a plan of saying, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to show up in taking care of my patients, in communicating with my staff. What do I want? Because what I want and what my colleague wants in terms of the maybe starting the documentation, some pre-visit questionnaires, some orders that maybe I want done before I go into the room, and maybe I would prefer that they wait until after I see this young child, because if you give my vaccines to a 2-month-old before I go in, sometimes they're a bit crankier. Although this is honestly more of an issue for the toddlers. So in your charting, it's so important to do this, to have this plan, but to be ready to pivot, because sometimes something will come up and someone will ask for another form, or they'll ask another question on your way out the door. They'll say, oh, by the way, Dr. Sedgman, can you add this? Can you prescribe Tylenol? Or I forgot to ask about this. And many times you're able to make that work, but it just takes that flexibility and communication with staff, with patients, and being able to say, oh, let me just log back in. I'll take care of that real quick, because otherwise, when I go on to the next room, it's so much easier to accidentally miss something, to not come back to it, to not document it properly if I'm not being intentional. And even if I do come back to it, which most of the time I was able to, I realized it just took more time. It took more mental energy. And so being ready to pivot, being able to be flexible, has allowed for both structure and that flexibility to keep things moving in a way that serves my process and my patients. Because ultimately, each of us in medicine, it's not about charting faster so that we can check a little box and, well, all those check boxes, this one and this one and this one, all those requirements that keep coming down. It's not about saying, oh, well, I'm so great and I'm so efficient just for recognition's sake. It's about being able to care for patients, to feel like a great doctor, and be able to finish for what matters most to you. Because I want to go home. I want to be able to enjoy a beautiful spring afternoon, to spend time outside, to go for a walk. These things matter. And so as I reflect on this recent experience potty training and how it relates to charting, which when I took the moment and thought, what lessons have I learned this weekend that apply to charting, that apply to our experience in medicine, I realized this could be really helpful, not just for me, but for each of you. And so the first lesson was to keep the end in mind. Secondly, the importance of mindset, that mindset matters, to make a plan but be ready to pivot. And then fourth, it's important to consider what you let successes or failures mean about you or about how things are going. So what do you make it mean? In potty training, it's natural to have some accidents, to have some times where it does go well. And regardless of what happens, those are just things. Those are part of the process. And by taking that mindset of this is part of the process, that is very different from saying, oh, these things are going so well, or things are going so poorly. It's so easy for me when I'm just going about my life to think that things going like I expected, like I wanted them to, that's necessarily a success and something that, oh, that means that I'm so amazing, that I'm so amazing as a parent, that finishing my charting, I'm so amazing as a doctor. And we can still celebrate that, and we'll get to that in a moment, but saying, oh, this happened and I got derailed in my schedule again because I spent some extra time with the patient. It took me a little bit longer to chart things in the room. It doesn't mean that I'm a bad doctor. It may mean that there's an opportunity to consider something that I might want to change in the future, but I don't have to let it mean that I'm inefficient, that I have to have negative thoughts about it. And saying, I am here and this is part of my growth journey. This is part of the process of getting to a child who can go to kindergarten and be able to take care of themselves. And in charting, for each of you and myself as I continue to grow, I just want to encourage you that as you try new things, as you look at the situations you may face, the templates, the increasing quality and documentation requirements, you start from where you are. There'll be things that get in the way, things that are challenging, things that you're like, well, maybe I don't really want to do it that way in the future. But that's not you and your worth as a person. And so I just want to encourage you with that because it's an opportunity to choose what you let that mean. When I end my session in clinic is a particular time. It doesn't have to be, oh, I finished late. Oh, I'm a terrible person, or this was so crazy or hard or whatever. It's okay to sit with those emotions of, hey, I'm emotionally drained. I'm exhausted. Maybe I'm going through burnout. It is totally okay to sit with that and to say that I'm not okay. And if that's you, I would encourage you to get some help, whether that's talking to a trusted colleague, a family member, a partner, a counselor, a therapist, a coach. Get help, because 67% of physicians going through burnout, according to a 2021 survey, this affects so many of us. I was one of them. And I know that many of you are either going through or have gone through earlier in your career something like this. And so I just wanted to encourage you that who you are and what you do, your production, those are separate things. And you can let them stay separate as you think about how you care for yourself and care for patients. And so the final thing that I want to encourage you with, lessons from this weekend that you can now bring into your charting is the importance of celebrating wins along the way. We made a sticker chart for my daughter and she got to color it. And each time she had success, we put a sticker up on the chart and got a Skittle or other small piece of candy. And it was just an opportunity to say, hey, this is a small step on your journey towards being potty trained. And we want to celebrate that and to be a small incentive. And as you think about charting, it could be taking a moment after a patient, after a day in clinic, a day on rounds, of giving yourself a high five, of encouraging your staff and saying, hey, we did a great job today. I appreciate your help so that we could run efficiently. I appreciate your help in working with this patient that needed some extra care, that took longer than either of us expected, but we got them what they needed. And I really appreciate you. So it's important to take time to celebrate wins along the way because that helps fuel the motivation to keep going as you keep the end in mind, as you consider how mindset matters, as you make a plan and you're ready to pivot, as you keep in mind that your successes or your failures don't have to define who you are as a person, and you get to decide what you let that mean as you celebrate these wins along the way. So I wanted to take this opportunity to encourage you with some life lessons that I've been dealing with personally to help you professionally be able to finish your charting faster as you keep these lessons in mind. And I don't want this to just be something that you think about, you listen and you say, well, that's great. But no, I want you to put this into practice. So I want you to screenshot this episode, to share it on social media and send me a message. Send me a message and say, hey, this is what I'm going to take away from this episode. You can share it and tag me. I'll repost you. And this is something that I am passionate about. I don't want to keep this to myself. I want to help other physicians and medical professionals take their next step forward. Because 67% of us going through burnout, I want to make a difference. I want to be a part of those coming together and helping make a change so that we can be present for what matters most to us. I am so thankful that you have chosen to join me here today. And if you are looking for some help with some of these things, I would encourage you to download my free PDF checklist with 10 tips to help you finish charting faster. You can find it at mededwell.com/efficiency guide. That's mededwell.com/efficiency guide, so that you can have concrete ways that you can make changes. When we talk about making a plan but being ready to pivot, having that plan of some of those tips, things that maybe you've done in the past but not focused on recently. I just want you to know that there are resources out there, whether this or others, and I just want to be a part of making this change. So again, thank you so much for joining me here today. Thank you for all the amazing things that you do for your patients, for your communities, for your families and friends, and for yourself. Thanks so much, and have a great day.